How did we manage to light a whole short film using only one power generator for all our setup? Well, that was our challenge from our last short film that takes place in a large forest isolated from everything. Having only one generator gave us the obligation to think about all the light we will use and at what percent we will use it. So let's dive into the first frame with this indoor shot. So it takes place inside the cabin. It is really important to know that it was really small and we were a lot inside it. For a lot of time we were like 6 or 7 inside this small cabin. So we needed to manage everything from the stand, from the light, everything. The main focus was obviously his face, and I needed to have a really soft light all around the face. No harsh lights or anything, just except maybe from the back. First off, during all the scenes, everything was lit mostly with xenon lights. So we had a couple of C100 lights, the new tube of Zion, a B500 and a couple of B200, and one panel. So for this scene, the talent was in the middle of the frame, shot on FX3, so just simple setup. But because the light was spilling everywhere and mostly because behind the camera a big window was there and a lot of light was coming from it. So the main goal was not to add artificial light everywhere, but to control the daylight. And that's the most important point during all those frames that you are going to see. It's how we manage to modify the existing light. So instead of blocking all the window, what we did was blocking half of it with some negative. So there was blocked with some negative. But we kept a small part of the window open, and like that we just applied some diffusion sheets on it to soften the sun coming through, and that's why we have this nice and soft light coming on the face of the talents. So right there we have some we have some diff, but of course we added some lights. We didn't directly point the lights at the face, firstly because we don't have enough space. So what we did is to take a 5-in-1 reflector on a white side next to the face, and we put a C100 from Zion directly bouncing at the reflector. Like that the light was already softened by the bounce. And what we did for the final touch on this frame was to put a panel above him to make it detach from the background, directly pointing at him to really motivate the window that we can see on the previous frame. That's why there is the light coming on the side of the head and a little bit on the shoulder right there. In terms of Kelvin, we were between the daylight one and sometimes a little bit lower at like 5000, but that was for all the daylights, that was our Kelvin. So let's jump into the next frame, still happening during the same scene, but this time with a bigger contrast ratio because it was more dramatic. It's a really big plot twist in the short film. It's again really simple, and there is just one light on the setup. Is on the left side you have the window that we kept in the same way with the negative and the diffusion sheet on it. It was not enough to light the character and the scene. So the model is standing here with the camera on the floor for the POV shots. So here we have the window with the negative and the diffusion sheets. Instead of putting a stand with a softbox or a panel, I went for directly bouncing the light at the wall, even if the tint of the light was a little bit modified because the wood was orange. We didn't have enough space to put the softbox actually, because we are already at the wall and the softbox would have been directly entered in the frame or create some elation and bloom. I took a Molus B500 directly bouncing at the wall with a reflector. We gain all the exposure here because that's not the window. That's just the B500 doing the job. We have this really nice shadow and really dark that creates this dramatic look of him looking on the ground and doing what he's doing on the specific scene. I don't want to spoil you because you need to watch this short film. So on this one I'm going to be really fast because it's all the same. We just move the panel right there to lit both of the actors at the same time because they are moving. He has some blocking here and she is going there. There is still the windows with the negative and the diffusion. I don't remember well, but maybe we put a zoom 200 bouncing directly at the ceiling to gain some exposition on the wall frame, and we had everything. Still, the Kelvin was still between these rates. Again, like you can see, we have this nice wrap around the face. There is no, it's really soft. There is no delimitation, and all the nice shadow coming there directly pointing at the camera. So we are shooting into the shadow, but with some lights that making and him is the same. They pop from the background. But on this one, what we had was this. Like you can see, there is this light coming from outside. It was not the sun actually, because it was really cloudy this day, so we weren't able to have this type of texture. So what we did is to put B500 outside directly with a reflector pointing at the window to create a little bit of light coming through. It's the harsher that we can have on this frame. It's here to create the effect of the character detaching from the background and not melting in the wood. And that's it. Again, just two lights. Simple, easy, fast. So last indoor setup, this one in particular, because we can see the really big and large window on the frame. So obviously, Captain Obvious, we weren't able to put the neg and the diffusion on it. Two lights again. We put a bouncing lights on the left side. You can see some spill actually on the on the corner, and one softbox right there above him, creating this motivate light from the window, and that's it. Panel, bouncing, that's it. To have this really dramatic feelings again on it. It's happened at a sad moment in the short film, so he's falling into the darkness. You can't really see his emotion. I really like this frame. Of course, it's not realistic at all in terms of amount of light and power of the fireplace inside. But I don't know why. I really love this frame because the light on his face is really interesting. I really like this glow, but it's not too harsh. It's a little bit soft. I really like that. Inside, of course, like you can guess, there is a light. It's not a fireplace doing that amount of lights. So inside we had some 300 in fire effects to trying to simulate the fireplace that we can see on the previous frame. So it's doing almost all the job, directly pointing at a face. It was double diffused to have a softer light. If I'm correct, it was almost one stop of light in terms of diffusion. And behind, we can clearly see here and here the light coming from the Xeon B500 directly with the reflector on the tallest edge I can got from my stand, like 3 meters. And it was really important to have that to really create this difference of color ratio on the frame directly there. Because the light was really far away, we lost a lot of detail in the dark here on the left side of the frame. It was really dark, and we lost a lot of stuff happening here. Of course, it was meant to be dark. It is at night, and we needed this mysterious feeling when she was approaching the cabin. But adding a little bit of light was important, so we took the Xeon B200 on a big softbox, double diffused again, but at like 20%, directly pointing at her when she's moving, because it's a moving frame, and like that we gain a lot of feel and detail here on the frame. Okay, now it's time to dive into the most interesting frame in terms of setup. We are into a car, a moving car. How did we create a setup with a moving car without any rig mounted on the car? Well, the answer is really simple. It was a completely freestyle and shitty rig we did. So for both of those frames, there on the girl and on the man, what we did is we put, depending of the situation, either a 5-in-1 reflector on the windshield, bouncing the lights at the face of the actor, or, not really safe, but it worked, we put some diffusion sheets all across the windshield. Of course, never here, because the driver needed to see where he was going, but more on the side of the passenger, and it worked quite well. Like you can see, everything is lit by the sun inside the car, and it's soft. I mean, for the sun, it was high in the sky, so it was really harsh, and it really saved us because the light is quite soft. It's warping nicely, even if there is a little bit of shadow there. It's not really something disturbing, but it's working. So putting some diffusion there creates almost all the look, and of course, to enhance and fill all the shadow in the car and not have a really big light and shadow on the frame, we added some C100 directly pointing at the ceiling of the car and inside the car to fill some shadow here. And that's it. If you have the car here, yes, that's the car. We have the passenger, the driver. Here you have some diffusion, and behind here you have some C100 with of course the camera that were just right there, and that's it. So let's dive into the last scenes. This one is going to be really quick to explain. It's just to show you something. So this one is fully lit with the sun. It is a long sequence where they are walking together. She's turning and calling the car that's coming here. So like you can see, the sun is everywhere. It is clipping there. It was complicated to manage, and with the cloud it was moving every 2 minutes. So what we did, instead of like trying to frame it with some diffusion and stuff like that, is okay, there is the sun, we are going to use it and we are going to adapt. So when they are walking, the sun is here, completely spilling everywhere. On the face, you can see it, but it's not too harsh on the face. With the tree, it was diffusing a little bit. So it's the sun. But behind them, it was completely dark, like a lot of darkness. So again, we took the EcoFlow, the Zhiyun B500 with some softbox and diffusion, and we just walked and ran next to them to really make everything more lit and not falling into the darkness, because it was not the mood we needed, and it was, even if it was a more dramatic feeling we wanted to end, it was way too dark. Here, and even behind the head, it is the Zhiyun B500 on the softbox. Okay, so this frame is one of my favorite frame of all the short film. I don't know why. Maybe because everything for me is perfect in terms of composition, of bokeh, of lights, wrapping all the face, the eyes, the highlight. I love this frame. And it is one of the most easiest setup we did, because the talent is just there. Here you have a big 6x6 frame diffusing the sun. The sun was right there. It was diffusing everything coming. And just to fill a little bit the shadow here, can you guess? Yes, we had a C100 diffused just to fill the shadow. That's it. It's so easy and yet looking so good. And it's a perfect example when I say sometimes the easiest setup are the best. 6x6 frame, C100, boom, you have your setup, you have your nice light, soft light, everything. And now let's go to the last frame that I love too, and that's easy again. It was after the sunset was out, we were running out of time. Of course there is still of daylight, but the sun was out of the horizon, so it was not at all in the golden hour. So the setup we went for this is pretty straightforward, nothing fancy. We put, like always, the strongest light we had in our kits, the B500, directly pointing at air, and air, and air again. It is the B500 doing all the work on the face, wrapping softly and doing this really soft and fairy light on the face. And I love these shots, and I love these highlights. I love everything about it. It was double diffused, and what we did on the side of the camera is we put a black flag just to create some contrast and have a better contrast ratio, creating this deep three-dimensional aspect on the frame. It was directly next to her because it is a close-up, so we were really close from the face. And like that, we have the light, the dark, the light, a little bit of dark, and the light. And of course again here dark lights, everywhere. Like you can see, it wasn't some complicated setup. It was around 1 or 2 lights, sometimes 3 lights, but it was just how do we manage the actual lights to create something soft and visually appealing. So I can't wait to have your opinion about those frames in comment. If you have any question about some setup or some stuff that I didn't explain well, or with my French accent because you didn't understand anything, just tell me in comments. Thank you to Zayun again trusting me on this project, sponsoring the video and the whole project with the lights. I hope you like this video, guys, and until next time, ciao.